If you're a school leader, you already know the job is a massive juggling act. One minute you're dealing with a discipline issue, the next you're planning teacher training, and before you know it, you're rushing into a meeting about the 5-year vision. It is an incredibly demanding role.
So how in the world does one person switch gears between managing behavior, building up staff skills, and setting a long-term strategy, all in the same day? You might be surprised to find out that the answer isn't some new, complicated management theory.
Turns out the solution is kind of hiding in plain sight. The very learning theories that guide great teaching, behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructivism, can also be incredibly powerful lenses for leadership. So today, we're going to break down how you can use these theories to become a more dynamic and impactful school principal. Now, we're going to explore these 3 frameworks, but not as competing ideas. Think of them more like different tools in your leadership toolkit. Each one gives you a really unique perspective to understand and solve the challenges you face every single day.
Okay, so think of this table as our roadmap. We've got 3 big ideas. First, behaviorism, which is all about observable actions. Then there's cognitivism, which dives into the mental processes behind those actions. And finally, constructivism, which looks at how we build knowledge together. Each one offers a powerful perspective for a principal, so let's dive into them one by one.
Let's kick things off with our first lens. Here, we see the principal not just as a manager, but as the chief architect of the entire school environment, literally shaping the conditions for success.
At its core, behaviorism is all about what you can see and measure. It views learning as a direct response to things in the environment, like rewards and consequences. For a principal, this means creating clear, consistent systems that actively shape the behavior of everyone in the school building.
So what does this actually look like in practice? Well, a behaviorist principal designs school-wide systems that use positive reinforcement, creating what some researchers call a redemptive paradigm, a culture built on high trust, not just punishment. They train their staff on these principles and focus relentlessly on data, always asking, are our systems working? Are we seeing the outcomes we want?
Clear systems are fantastic, but they don't tell the whole story, do they? Great schools aren't just about compliant behavior, they're about deep thinking and problem solving. So that leads us to a pretty natural question. What about the internal world of our teachers and students?
And this brings us right to our second lens, the principal as the strategic thinker. Here, the focus shifts from the external environment to the internal, mental work of leadership and learning.
If behaviorism was about the outside, cognitivism is all about what's happening inside the mind. It sees learning as this complex process of taking in information, making sense of it, and solving problems. For a principal, this isn't just about managing systems, it's about leading the thinking of the entire organization.
And this quote right here, it just nails it. A cognitively complex leader is like a master problem solver, analyzing everything from test scores to teacher morale to build a clear strategic plan for where the school is going.
So in the real world, a cognitivist principal is absolutely obsessed with building capacity. They don't just solve problems, they empower their staff to become better problem solvers themselves. They invest heavily in professional development that really builds teachers' judgment and expertise, making the entire school smarter and more adaptable.
Okay, so we've designed the environment and we've built up the individual skills of our team. But schools aren't just collections of skilled individuals, are they? They're communities. So how does a leader weave all of that individual talent into a cohesive, collaborative whole?
Well, this brings us to our third and final lens, the principal as the community builder. This is where we shift from individual thinking to shared understanding and collective action. Constructivism basically argues that we build knowledge together. Meaning isn't handed down from the top, it's constructed through our shared experiences and conversations. So the leader's role, well, it shifts dramatically from being the expert to being the lead facilitator.
This quote perfectly captures the spirit of constructivist leadership. The goal isn't for the leader to have all the answers. No way! It's to create an environment where the staff feels empowered to find the answers together, to innovate, and to take creative risks.
A constructivist principal builds a shared vision with the staff, not for them. They work to break down those old top-down hierarchies, fostering open communication and inviting everyone to the table. They also protect teachers from outside pressures, giving them the freedom to create classrooms where both students and adults are active, engaged learners.
So, we have the architect, the thinker, and the community builder. Which one is the right one? Well, that's actually the wrong question to ask. The real magic happens when you learn how to integrate all 3.
Here's the big takeaway.
The best leaders aren't dogmatic. They don't stick to just one theory. Instead, they act as thoughtful diagnosticians, assessing each situation and then choosing the right lens, the right tool for that specific job.
Let's make this super practical. You might use a constructivist approach to bring everyone together to build a shared school vision. Then, you could switch to a cognitivist strategy to design a really smart professional development plan for your teachers. And finally, you'd apply clear behaviorist principles to roll out a consistent, school-wide behavior policy. See? It's all about using different tools for different tasks. And that right there, that ability to be flexible, to diagnose a situation, and to apply the right framework at just the right time, that's what separates good principles from truly great ones. It's not about mastering one theory. It's about mastering the art of choosing the best approach for any given moment.
So, this leaves us with a final question for you to think about. As you reflect on your own school or workplace, which of these lenses, the behaviorist, the cognitivist, or the constructivist, do you see used most often? And maybe, more importantly, which one do you think is needed most right now? The answer could be the key to your next big breakthrough as a leader.